Goat, Sheep, and Cow is a gourmet specialty cheese shop in downtown Charleston, featuring worldly artisanal cheeses and wines in the Southeast. Today, I talk with Patty Floersheimer and Trudi Wagner, the owners of Goat, Sheep, and Cow, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Trudi Wagner and Patty Floersheimer, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups. It's so good to have you all here.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
You're very welcome. Obviously, you all are the owner and co-owner of Goat, Sheep, and Cow, which is, in my opinion, one of the best sandwich shops in downtown Charleston.
I don't know. There's a lot of competition out there for sure, but I don't know if our aim is to be a sandwich shop as much as it is to be a cheese shop.
Cheese shop, exactly right. It's a cheese and sandwich shop right there on Church Street, where I just left a few minutes ago to get over here. But I know that Goat, Sheep, and Cow strives to be the destination for an artisanal cheese in the Southeast, providing excellence in service, hospitality, and knowledge of your products. Why are you the destination?
Why? You want to answer that one?
Well, it was really what we set out to be. We were determined. We both have very different personalities, but a lot of crossover things. And we were just determined that if we were going to set up a business, that it was going to be the absolute best. And hopefully we achieved that. But it was, you got to maintain it. But that was what we were after, was to be the destination for cheese in the Southeast.
But also that I think the reason that we created goat.sheep.cow was we had come from New Jersey and had a similar business there, and it involved more wine, and we knew the cheese part, but we didn't. No one was doing cheese in Charleston, and so that was kind of our angle to kind of enter this business, and certainly our goal was, if you say cheese in Charleston, you want people to say goat.sheep.cow, and that's been our goal from day one.
So from day one, how have you been able to maintain Goat, Sheep, and Cow as the destination?
Well, you want to answer that, or you want to answer that?
Go for it. I'll fill in.
We certainly. This is a little. I mean, I think it's a well-known. It's not a secret, I suppose. We certainly work with some regional and local vendors. However, I think what keeps us ahead of the pack and having things that a lot of folks can't get their hands on. So we fly cheese weekly from New York. So even today, they're packing up close to 600 or 700 pounds of cheese for us up in New York, and we will receive it tomorrow. Should be flying in tomorrow night into Charleston, so there'll be specialty things that no one in this area can get unless you're doing something similar that what we're doing. So that keeps us kind of ahead of the pack, and we also are constantly. I mean, I think one of the favorite things to do in this business is to find specialty foods, to find goodies, and bring them to our customers. And so we're always on the lookout for new products, new vendors, artisanal producers, handcrafted stuff, and quite clearly, I mean, that's something that excites us. I mean, shopping, certainly, you're talking to women, shopping excites us. And so if it's in our category, then it really excites us. Yeah. So that's what we're always after.
What are those specialty foods that you're looking for now for the average customer?
Now, we're certainly. I mean, I think it's been challenging. The supply chain is very challenging for everyone on, especially European products. We are working on now, certainly just maintaining the level of quality that we've continued to bring for the last 11 to almost 12 years.
Yeah,
but finding interesting products that are part of maybe your kitchen pantry. And I look over because we have some things that we've purchased that recently that we intend to kind of test drive so that we can recommend them to customers if we enjoy them or can find a recipe that works or something that we can share with with our customers, and so we're always on the hunt.
We really do have bottles of things on the counter over here that we want to try because we want to be able to. We like to tell people that we don't want to. When we try to train a new employee, we say you don't have to sell these products to anyone. They're really good quality products. And as owners, we try to use these things in our home to make sure that it's what we would serve to guests. And then you don't have to sell. You can just say, wow, I tasted it. It's spectacular. And we recommend it because we use them at home.
And this is the application. So just, I don't know if you can see. So this is, these are preserved lemons.
What?
And this is something very traditional to the Moroccan and Northern Africa. And so something like chermoula spread.
Yes.
You can see that.
Yeah.
What
But
else
so we're going
here?
to play around with them at home and then put them on our shelves if it meets with what we look for.
Yep.
Also, another thing.
Kind of cool stuff
Wow.
like use. And here's one. This one, I don't know how we're going to get after this one, but these are actually dried limes.
Yeah, we have no idea how to use those yet.
Don't know yet, but we're going to figure it out.
Also, something else too, our customer base is kind of changing because we moved here from the Northeast and we are not alone. There are so many people moving from the Northeast. And if they're from the New York, that tri-state area, they're accustomed to getting all these interesting things from all over the world because, of course, New York is
such a multinational, international city.
And with so many people moving down here from that area, they're demanding the things that they were able to find there that they maybe couldn't find here up until recently, or maybe, hopefully, it's because we bring them. Yeah. We always joke that there's an Italian specialty product, mortadella.
Yes.
Well, so many Southerners wouldn't buy it. And when we first started to get it in, it sat on in our deli case.
We ended up eating it.
And we would eat it because people wouldn't buy it. And now over the last...
What is it? Bologna. Italian bologna.
Ew. But now more and more people say, oh, I'm so excited that you have mortadella. Could you, I'll take some of that.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of that happen.
Wow. I grew up eating bologna and I don't like it, but it's good if I have to eat it.
This is better though. This is better than, this is not Oscar Mayer bologna.
There you go. I'm going to try that then. I'm going to try that. Well, let me ask you this, ladies. What was your customer base 11 years ago versus now?
I would say that our original shop on Church Street, we have served them for the past 11 years, and I would say that they've been a very loyal neighborhood, and there are a lot of folks that are second and third homeowners that spend part of their year in Charleston, that come from cities like London and Paris, and that live in New York and Chicago and Boston. And so those are the same customers that we serve today. Maybe the neighborhood is turning over a little bit with the rising up of Charleston, if you will, real estate. People, the pandemic has certainly had a significant change on the customer base, and that I think through the pandemic, the city was the beneficiary of a lot of folks leaving big cities. Why, if you can work remotely, why wouldn't you work in a gorgeous coastal city that
smells like jasmine?
That smells like jasmine and has great food. So we've seen a lot of folks move to Charleston and work remotely. So I would say maybe perhaps our customer base average age has actually come down a bit. And especially the sandwich crew, solidly, I would say average age probably about 27 to 32, and they are a voracious and enthusiastic group of folks, for sure.
Absolutely. How are you ladies keeping up with Charleston's growth?
We are very, very aware of it, especially since we've opened our second location up on Meeting Street. Pretty far up the peninsula in the neck area there. So we were
it seemed so far up there when we first opened.
Yeah.
Almost 6 years ago now. It seemed like it was an outpost.
It still kind of is, but there are cranes in the sky all around us, and the development up there is kind of passing us. I feel like we've been holding the frontier up there with a few other restaurants, and now it's starting to the development starting to push past us.
And we're thinking about our third location too.
What? Oh, yeah, dropping that bomb on Quintin.
I know. No, we can't really talk about it much yet.
Right.
We're thinking about it. We're doing a little bit more than thinking about it, but it's not anything definite that I can talk about.
The ink is not dry yet, but it's in the works.
Why a third location? Why now?
Because of the growth.
It's an opportunity that's presented itself to us in a location that we have coveted for a long, long time.
But we wouldn't have done it, though. We wouldn't have done it a few years ago, I don't think, because we just didn't see the numbers. People come to visit and they forget that this is really not as big as they think it is. Yeah. It's oftentimes seems really crowded because it's filled with people that are temporary, tourists and things. But I don't think that we're not 1 million people, even if you take in Somerville, as part of Charleston. We're not even at 1 million yet for the last I checked. And so it just didn't call for a third location. I don't think we would have probably kind of cannibalized our other locations, but we don't think we will now because I think that the growth is really steady and big.
Not only is Charleston expanding up the peninsula and further points north, Goose Creek, Somerville, obviously, but Mount Pleasant and spreading north that way, and from James Island and Johns Island and further south. So we're seeing the spread all around. It's great for our business. However, we actually are commuters too, so we're seeing it in the traffic and
it's good and it's bad.
It's good and it's bad, and so the infrastructure is something that's on our minds as well. I think that it hasn't been kept up with, and the faster that they can get some infrastructure in place, better infrastructure, a legit public transportation system that has timeliness like buses, and a real train line. If you can get a train line from Somerville down the peninsula,
right,
or even legit ferries that come from Mount Pleasant across the way that are scheduled.
Getting political here, careful.
I talk to those politicians all day long. Well, I talk to those politicians all day long.
We're not going there.
No, I'm just addressing the growth and the infrastructure needs, and we see it, and that's it's important to us too. It's certainly for our customers, but our own quality of life for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And your second location is on my running route, so I pass it by. Matter of fact, I passed it by this past Sunday on my way to South and North Charleston and back. But let me ask you this: what is the quality of life right now with Goat, Sheep, and Cow on Church Street in downtown Charleston?
For our customers or for us?
Both. Yes, ma'am. Both.
For us, it's good because right now it's being managed nicely and doesn't require us to be there, which is a wonderful thing for us. And it gives us the opportunity to grow because we don't have to be physically present there every day. So that's a good thing. And I think for the customers in the area, I feel like they greeted that shop with a big warm hug when we opened, and I think they would still speak about it that way because we were designated an essential business at the beginning of the pandemic. Because so many of the people that live in that area are a little on the older side, as I am too. So I'm not, and it was very nice to have familiar faces to go through that door and know that there were only 2 or 3 people working inside, and they were always the same ones, and you could get a bottle of wine or a baguette. and not have to feel like you were exposed to hundreds of people at the supermarkets, for instance. And I think we know people's dogs' names. And
More than we know their names.
They'll come and get a treat every day, you know, and it's, we were told probably about a month or two after we opened, we had customers say, "Thank you so much for opening here. You probably have increased the values of our property in this neighborhood because it's a clean, dependable little store that brings a quality product." And we were like, it was, you know, you almost cry when people say you know, how much they appreciate what we're doing. And it isn't just about the money. Boy, does that feel good, you know, to have people say things like that about our business. So,
You know, yeah, and Patty, you talk about those quality products. What are those quality products that the average customer want right now from you all that they can't get anyplace else?
oh, so many. The depth of the cheese quality that we bring. It's well beyond that. What Trudy was talking earlier about going to the airport.
Yes.
That we have cheeses that nobody else, maybe in the state, has.
Probably, yeah.
Because we make that effort to go pick those things up from the airport and have these great connections of people that we have cultivated in New York. We have so many products that you don't find anyplace else.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I think just being able to bring that really, you know, makes that neighborhood and beyond happy. I mean, we have people that'll drive from, even when we just had the one location, they would drive from Beaufort to come and shop. And because they recognized that they were not available in other places. So
this might be a complicated question, but what is the fate of cheese? Where do you see cheese going next?
I think cheese is, for Americans, something that's still on the newer side. A lot
for producers.
For producers and consumption, I would say that. So American producers, the oldest American producers, are probably have been in business 30-ish, 40 years,
Maybe 40.
that are certainly reputable. But I think as consumers, for Americans, a lot of folks don't know much more than sharp cheddar or Kraft singles.
Right.
And so our job as cheesemongers, is to educate folks about, and these are old. If you think about cheese making and the old world style of preservation of foods, not just the cheese, but this goes hand in hand with charcuterie and to some degree wine. This is about an old kind of method, and I think a lot of people have gotten back to the roots of food production, where I think America is saturated with packaged foods. And these are raw, natural foods that we're bringing, and I think educating people is important. But I think that Americans, the more I can see it in our own customers that didn't know quite a lot about cheese, but have become educated by being shoppers and being, putting their trust in our hands to show them new things, fun things,
and educate them,
and educating them, so so our customers are better consumers. But cheese in general is not going by the wayside. I would say it's still a struggle to have small independent dairies, cheesemakers. In the end, they are farmers, and that is a thankless job that requires 24/7 dedication to the land and animals, and so that will always be a challenge about how people can make a living working a farm or raising goats or cows, or maybe they're raising them and they're making this product, and it's a laborious thing. You can't go on vacation because your cows and goats need to be milked twice a day, not once, twice a day, and there's no vacation. We can't milk them. That's got to happen. So it's a sincere dedication, and I don't think it's going away by any stretch. And it's a challenge right now. The supply chain is very difficult for everyone. I would say that our access to some of the cheeses that we had when we first opened, we don't have any longer. So to some degree, the base is shrinking in our ability to get things, whether it's just FDA laws or it's now every time we order something, it's boats are delayed and or they never get there, or there's some sort of FDA regulation that prevents the cheese is actually getting to consumers' hands. So I don't see any end in that sight, but cheese business is not going anywhere, I don't believe.
Well, and it's also, on a lighter note, it's an affordable luxury.
Yes.
People, I think that's what, we stayed pretty busy during the pandemic, and I think it's because people wanted to kind of treat themselves. They were going to stay home, but they were going to have something that was beautiful and beautifully presented, and we did a lot of catering, even though it was just tiny catering. We did, it wasn't like a big cheese board for 50 people,
Right.
But it would be, for 6 friends that were all in their own bubble. And we did a lot of it.
Yeah.
And people want affordable luxuries.
Yeah, and I would say that also it takes you kind of on a mini trip, and I think this falls in the category of wine as well, and that is that, people kind of, tasting wines and experiencing wines, which is certainly now a big business in Charleston. We see so many more wine shops popping up and people, running businesses that are not necessarily, they don't compete with us on the cheese shop, but certainly on the wine side. And there's a term that they use for wine, and it's called terroir. And referring to terroir is a French term that refers to taste of place. And so you can, if you let your mind go there, you can taste. You can, tasting an Italian red versus an domestic red is an entirely different thing. And if you've ever been, you can close your eyes and put yourself back there. And cheese is the same way. It is terroir because you're talking about animals that graze on pastures that are indigenous, that
With wildflowers or herbs
that represent the soil that is in that particular region, and they're drinking, water that's from that particular region. So that the same thing comes through in the cheese. So you're tasting, it's your experience of tasting place, and that's one of our fun things that we get to do in the business. Is we're always in pursuit of that pairing of not just wine and cheese, but other condiments or items that we always are
so much fun
on the lookout for. 1 and 1 is 2, but when it really explodes, you get a higher number there. And if you hit a trifecta, then you really blow people up, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. You look like you were going to ask us another question based on that.
Well, I was thinking about this, Patty. If you were to see 50 people around the table, kind of like where I'm sitting right here, what type of pairings would you have right now for them?
We love to do and we love to do a thing that is called goes with, and so people, you kind of realize when you do a lot of these tastings that if the cheese that is from a certain area usually tastes great with the wine from a certain area, and so that's one of our favorite things. If we were going to present a tasting for people, that's one of our favorite things to do, is to see if we have in stock the things that grow, that are like the cheeses that are made in a certain area and the wines to go with that. And it works. And then Trudy was going to say something too about because we're coming on springtime, and there are some cheeses and wines that are perfect light for Charleston spring. Yes. I know you were going to say that.
Certainly, rosé. We drink rosé year round, but certainly it's applicable in the spring for sure, as the weather starts to turn warmer and heat up. And those go great with beautiful fresh goat cheeses.
Yep.
And then there's the standby that champagne goes with everything and for every occasion, which is super, super fun.
Yeah. And it does. It works. We've tried it.
What's that one cheese and wine that you haven't tasted yet that you want to taste?
Oh.
Oof.
The wine unicorn. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, there
are, I can say for cheeses.
Go ahead.
There are some
they're so hard to get.
Italian cheeses that we have heard about. And I'm trying to think of a specific name. It's more that it isn't even a specific cheese. It's that there are so many things because of the restrictions here in the U.S. and how we cannot import raw milk cheeses unless they're aged over 60 days, and yet they're available all over France and Italy. Oh. And that's really not one particular cheese, but a whole lot of cheeses like that can't legally be brought here to the United States. Yeah. Oh, to do a field trip there.
The whole category of unpasteurized, young, fresher cheeses would be...
Little farmers markets in
That's
Europe,
definitely a category.
To go and be able to taste those things there. That's our unicorn.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is amazing. Well, okay, what is your knowledge of cheese now that you actually have a shop?
Ooh. Well, there's a lot of on-the-job training.
Yeah. I mean, it's... I think that certainly, you learn a lot more over the years. Yeah. Not only for how cheeses are produced, milk types, etc., but also in the care of cheese. There's a lot of work and knowledge that goes in there, and for us, we are super careful about the quality of our cheeses, and for that matter, everything that comes out of our shops. We want that to be something that we would enjoy at our table. And I would never want something to go out the door that was not up to quality. Mm-hmm. And so that's critically important about not just your knowledge of where it comes from, what it tastes like, or how it's produced, but also the care of how you take care of it, because especially fresh cheeses, they have a finite life and they will expire. And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of Americans associate like bries with ammonia, and you should never eat a cheese that tastes like ammonia. Then your cheese has expired, and that's, I think, the bad part about like buying grocery store cheese. There's no one there to tell you about the provenance of this product.
Well, and it's been wrapped in plastic for a little while, so nobody knows for sure what it's like, whereas almost everything that we do is cut for the customer. And if it didn't have a good smell, we would know it and we wouldn't sell it to them. Right. So it's
10 years later, we know a lot about cheese for sure.
We do, and we're lucky that we have good communication with suppliers that are always trying to introduce us with new things. Again, that New York connection we talked about. And they'll even recommend things sometimes. Yep. And we get to taste. We're lucky. We have access to all kinds of crazy good stuff.
The pandemic has definitely stymied a little bit of this, and hopefully it'll open up again. But annually, actually it's twice a year. Yep. There is a specialty food conference, if you will, called
the Fancy Food
Show, and they've traditionally held it in New York and San Francisco. New York is the summer show, and San Francisco the winter show. And so products across the states, people who are producers, people who are buyers, it's kind of a meeting place, and people from all over Europe bring their products. Sometimes they're looking for distribution, sometimes they can do direct business, but it's a great place to find new products, see your friends in the business, meet the makers,
taste
truly talk to them,
so much fun.
Taste so many things. And so that is a driver of the business in terms of connectivity, knowledge sharing for sure, and just
keeps you loving what you do too.
True. You get to see a lot of new things and innovation, and so this pandemic has really stymied that in the last few years. So hopefully that we'll get back on track with that. But that I think allows us to be better retailers in general.
Oh, absolutely. And who in the wine and cheese business do you want to meet next?
Luigi Gufanti.
Uh,
or his son. There's a there's a job, I guess you'd call it, in the cheese business, and it's called an affineur, and it's a French term, and it basically is a lot of people that make cheese in the countryside in Europe they're farmers, and instead of them bringing their product to market to the world, the affineurs will make contact with the farmers that make cheese, and they'll take their product and they'll age it at their facility and then release it to the world. So they're in charge of maintaining it in good condition and aging it properly, and also advertising and distributing it. And when they do that, and they do it really well, they put their name on the label for this food, the affineur, and then we have a few affineurs that we know of, that we haven't met, but we know of, that are
world class.
Really, really good, and we love their products.
I would even say that's very true, but I would say personally for me, it's mostly about Italian products.
Yes. That's why I said Luigi.
Yeah. I love Italian products across the board. Cheeses, wines, specialty gourmet grocery items. The Italians have it, I would say, over most.
Well, the French do a pretty good job.
The French do a pretty good job, but the Italians are in my heart, that's for sure.
Yes.
That's for sure. And speaking of which, ladies, what does goat, sheep, and cow mean to you?
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. Right? I don't know.
It's a business we built from the ground up, and it's our brand. It's our identity.
It is now.
It's our babies.
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's kind of everything.
It's
right
kind
now.
of everything to us.
Yeah.
It's how people identify us. How we identify.
Yep.
And it's
most days it's really fun too.
Yeah, I would say
it's a lot of work, but
it's true. But I would like to believe that we run workplaces that are fun. We've all had jobs that we didn't like, and we strive to make sure that our workplaces are not that, for sure. I mean, bosses that open wines for their staff, I think most particularly Fridays and Saturdays, not just, to have a shift drink, but also to train staff on what some of the items that we're selling. The cheese is easy to taste because a lot of it is open, but the bottles are a different story. So that's kind of a fun perk of the job at goat.sheep.cow, is getting to taste things all the time and having a glass of wine on the end of your shift, not even before the doors are closed. Fridays and Saturdays is a lot of fun.
Customers will come in and see us with bottle open, and everybody's got a glass, and so. But it's strictly for business person.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Now, how do you keep this fun going as far as a brand 5-10 years from now?
Whoa, I'm going to be in my wheelchair 5 to 10 years.
That's truly about finding the right people to bring kind of the legacy forward. People that share your passion.
Yep.
To not only have a fun and good workplace, but the excitement that people, I find that we say this all the time about when you come on board, or we're looking for staffing. You don't have to know about cheese or wine or charcuterie or anything that we sell. You just have to be food interested. If you are excited by food, we can teach you everything. And that, I think, is one of the qualities, it's the common thread amongst people in the food business. If food excites you and you are thinking about the next meal that you're cooking, or the thing is, when you get up in the morning and you have breakfast and say, what are we having for dinner? You're our people. And so I think, and there's plenty of us out there that are like that, and that will be the critical part about carrying the business forward.
Yes.
is to bring that quality of excitement. And also, it's not about selling to customers for us. It's about sharing an experience or sharing something that excites us.
Yeah.
That's how we want to run our business, is sharing things with people, not about having to push or make a sales quota or buying something and getting something for free. It's never about that. It's about, and to some degree,
It's
even
sharing what we love.
it's sharing what
Yeah.
we love, but it's not, we don't want to, and I hate to use that term, I don't know if it sounds elitist, we're not here to represent mediocrity. Like if it's or just, I won't carry local just because it's local. It's got to sit in the case next to world class
Yes.
European style cheeses, and if it sucks, people are going to tell you it sucks, and so we're about that, things
Things we
love,
believe in.
things we believe in, and we can honestly talk to people about products that we really love. And share with people. That's really what the passion and the fun of being in the food business is.
Well, and we've been, because we have held to that, people trust us.
Yes.
Because they'll come and they'll taste, we'll say, like, I know you haven't tasted this before, but I believe you're going to like it. And they'll come back and say, I loved it. Show me something more.
Right.
And we don't have to sell hard because we've picked good things to begin with. And so we've got a nice trust with our customers, and they'll buy it. You can hear the cat back here. Sorry.
I heard.
I see him back there. Oh.
But I mean, I'm sitting here with my little granola here, I guess. But let me ask you this: that was lunch today. But what other foods that you want to actually taste right now that you're actually interested in, besides wine and cheese?
You just repeat that one more time.
Can you repeat?
Oh, no worries. What other foods?
Can you repeat it? It was locking up a little bit.
Okay, no worries. But what other foods that you're interested in besides wine and cheese? Oh, I see.
Oh, geez. What foods are we not interested in? What foods are we interested in for the business or just ourselves?
Both. You can talk about both. Yes, ma'am.
Both. Oh, geez. We're interested in all kinds of food. It's so much fun tasting things you haven't tasted before. I have my daughter lives a few blocks away and makes Korean food and Moroccan food and invites us over because she knows that how much we appreciate that. Yes. So as far as food goes, it's almost impossible to limit.
Yeah,
we love everything, but as far as the business goes, I would say it's just more about kind of introducing like these things that we were showing you earlier, right. Expanding a little bit beyond the common European things that everybody's familiar with. And it's fun to have like the preserved lemons and things that people they're sort of familiar because you know what a lemon is,
right?
But you've got to figure out how to use this preserved lemon. And so it makes you kind of go to a website and look up recipes that have that ingredient in them.
I think the other thing that we've seen through the pandemic, obviously ourselves included, when restaurants were closed, you're home cooking your meals. And so after a certain amount of time, you're like, man, I need a new lineup because I'm getting tired of the same stuff. And so there's been a lot of experimentation, but also I think people learned how to, stock their pantries and finding cool pantry items that can, lift your meal or something that you're looking to experiment with, whether it's having, preserved lemons or harissa or something like that in your catalog, or whether you have, anchovy paste and, all kinds of little things that help you along the way. So I think was definitely driven by the pandemic.
Yeah.
People are better cooks, ourselves included, coming out of the pandemic, just out of necessity. And I think that part has helped maybe to some degree the American food revolution. And, the fact that you can get anything on Amazon.
Yes.
If you want to cook it the next day, you can get it on Amazon.
Yes.
Almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a fun angle to the business that we've seen pop up with people really looking to stock their pantries and find giftable things.
Mm. Well, actually, one last question, ladies. What cheese describes you?
Oof.
Oh, nah.
Oh, crusty old Gouda.
No,
I got mine. Go ahead.
I'm gonna stick with my favorite cheese, which is it's called Canestrato, and it's an Italian cheese, of course, and it's a pecorino for all intents and purposes. But she's salty sometimes, but she's smooth, and I really I love that cheese. I think we have so much access to it that there are very few cheeses that you can eat a lot of, and that is a cheese that I want to have a lot of. And I think when I think about it, I think about savoring every little morsel of it. And if I had a glass of Nebbiolo or Barbaresco or Barolo, all of those that are Nebbiolas, I would be at the next level of enjoyment. So, but definitely sometimes salty.
And you, Patty? It's still the good, right?
I don't know if it describes me, but I have a favorite right now. I do have a favorite right now.
Okay.
And it is an Alpine cheese, which means that it's a cow's milk, and it is like what people think of as Swiss cheese, except that the whole outside is pressed with wildflowers. And edible wildflowers, and it changes the character of the cheese in the most beautiful way. It's called Octoblumen, and it means like 8 flowers. And it smells like maple syrup. It is the most delicious.
It's ethereal. It's absolutely gorgeous cheese.
I don't know how much that describes me, but
complex and multi-talented.
That's amazing. Well, Trudi Wagner and Patty Floersheimer, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. You have $1 million smile,
you
sir.
You do. I was thinking the same thing.
It's such a pleasure.
Likewise. Yes. Thank you guys.
What a treat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Likewise. You're welcome anytime.